Welcome to the webinar on privacy and trust enhancing technologies for ICT-24. We will start in a very short time. I hope that you can all connect to the audio. So on the call today running the webinar is myself, Mirko Presser from Aarhus University. I'm part of the pathfinding CSA projects that are leading up to the topic of a future direction for the internet in terms of human internet. And I would like to set the scene. So I think the first thing that we need to do is we need to make sure that if you're not talking, I would like it that you mute your microphone, please. Secondly, I would like to introduce very briefly. We have Stefano Foglietta from the European Commission, as well as Jean-Luc Dorel from the European Commission, who will be talking about this topic specifics and also deal with the question and answer that will be at the end of this webinar. And we also have on the call Paul Malone from he will introduce the part of the Consultation Platform a little bit later in this call. I encourage you to use the chat. The chat is at the bottom here. So for everyone, you can put your contact details here if you want to be contacted further. You can put your questions here if you want to ask anything for the Q&A at the end. So we'll be collecting those questions during the entire webinar and then answer them at the end. You can also have a short discussion in the webinar here. It's very much encouraged. But after the webinar is over, we encourage you to use the NGI consultation platform that will be introduced by Paul a little bit later. I also encourage you to raise your hand if you want to pitch at the pitch session. So we'll start off with the consultation platform. We will continue with the topic presentation, and then you have a chance of pitching. For the pitching, I have at the moment two persons that are interested. That's Berit, and I can see Berit is on the call, as well as Nicola Fabiano. And I haven't seen Nicola on the phone on the call yet. So please make yourself known if you are maybe under a different name in the list. But you can do that all via the chat, and I will monitor that to see who will be presenting later. If you have slides, I will paste into the chat window in a little while a document that gives you a quick overview of how to become a presenter on WebEx and show your slides. But bear in mind you have 2 minutes. There's quite a number of people on the call, so we don't have room for everybody to pitch. So it's a first come, first serve, with Berit and Nicola being reserved as the first two. So I would then like to hand over to Paul. Paul, are you there?
I am, Mirko. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, and can you see my screen?
You're sharing your screen, but you're not sharing your video. But I'm not sure if we need it.
Well, I will play the video shortly, but first I will just talk about how to engage with the NGI in general. So you can see the screen now, yeah? The NGI website.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
I can see the video. Sorry, Paul.
Oh, you can see the video. Okay. But you can't see this screen. No. Okay. And I don't know why that is. Okay. I need to remove this video. So how do I show my, how do I share my screen? Okay, sorry, I got kicked off there. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and can you see the website?
Still only the video.
Okay, I'm gonna have to remove this video, so. Share my screen. How about now?
This looks good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so my name is Paul Malone. I work for Waterford Institute of Technology, and I'm part of the Speak NGI project, which is part of the NGI initiative. My project is responsible for the consultation platform primarily. But I will just give a quick overview of how people can engage with NGI. We have a website, which is ngi.eu, and there are multiple ways of engaging with us. We have, for example, a newsletter, which is available here on this website, and you can register for this newsletter here. Insert your name, your last name, and your email address, and you'll receive updates on everything NGI. Similarly, we have our Twitter feed, which is, let's see it here, news. So, whoa, okay. Okay. So if you go to the bottom here, here's the feed. Oh, I beg your pardon. If I go here, you can see here our Twitter feed. So our Twitter handle is NGI4EU. Also, there is an NGI map, which is an interactive map of the various NGI initiatives around Europe. So if you're not already registered with that, please register with that and have your institution or organization represented on this map. Similarly, we also have another way of engaging, and this is the part where my project is most engaged with. So this is the consultation platform. I have a short video of the consultation platform, which I hope I can run. And I think I have to turn off the sharing of the screen. Go back to here. I'm just losing my space. Okay, apologies for this. Be very quick. I'll very quickly have it. Okay, so can people see the video?
Yep. Yes.
NGI, the next generation internet, is gaining momentum amongst researchers and business operators. But a lot still needs to be done to define and highlight the innovations that will make Europe a trusted hub globally.
The best way to identify
priorities in NGI research and development is by listening to you, by offering all key stakeholders, including startups and
space for sharing their expertise. This is why the European Commission have facilitated a dynamic, democratic, continuously open consultation that is accessible online to all stakeholders. Frontrunner innovators across Europe can now become directly involved in focused discussions.
Sorry, it's very annoying because there's a lot of echo because somebody didn't cut the mic.
Yeah, I think somebody has it on speakers and it's getting caught up by a microphone somewhere, so we're getting a bit of echo.
And beyond. The consultation platform is already open today to collect your ideas and record your expert opinions. You can truly influence the debate on how the NGI will look in the next 10 years with our surveys that we will soon launch.
Could you mute for everybody? I think this Paul Malone is doing a problem.
What is happening in the NGI space? Contributor by writing a comment on one of the discussion channels or by taking part in a survey, or a valued returning expert, a role that will reward you with the increased visibility throughout the entire NGI community. Being closer to the action, you'll make the most of your participation in the upcoming calls for NGI proposals. The NGI Consultation Platform is online at www.consultation.ngi.eu. Join the community. Everyone can bring their expertise, and you can share your points of view into the framework of developing a human-centric, next-generation internet.
Okay, so I think there was a little bit of echo there, so it may have not been 100% clear. If the consultation platform is available from the NGI website, if you go to the main website and click on consultation, this will bring you to our consultation platform, and you can register here in this corner. It's a very simple registration process. You'll get a verification email. Once you have your verification email, you can participate.
Yeah, I think it's there. I'm gonna go see. Camera off, huh?
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah.
Perfect. You should be able to hear it now.
Or you can just come to my place. I can hear it in my office.
You didn't get one of those headphones?
Sorry.
You didn't get any.
Sorry.
Yeah, you should have get that.
Yes,
Yes, I have it.
Sorry, we
Yeah,
have it.
like that. This is working.
Secondary conversation going on.
Mute your speaker.
Okay, so this is our consultation platform. There are, as you saw from the video, there are two ways primarily of engaging through our consultation platform. One is to take a survey. We have a survey here in which you can participate and give your opinion. We want to gather your opinion, all stakeholders' opinions of the NGI, the direction it should go in. We want to understand what your interest specifically is in the NGI and where you think the focus should be on the upcoming calls for 2019 and beyond Horizon 2020. Similarly, we have a set of discussion channels where you can start conversations about these topics. We have 3 channels dedicated to the topics of the NGI for 2018 here, and this is the one that we're discussing today, privacy and trust enhancing technologies. So I would encourage everybody on the call to register on the platform and engage with the community through these channels. So as I say, these are the channels for this year. We're also looking to gather interest for the work program 2019, and if I look at all the channels, we can also see other topics that are such as next generation internet skills, multilingual NGI, and NGI beyond Horizon 2020, so how we want to define the priorities for the research focus and NGI beyond Horizon 2020 and into Framework 9.
Thank you, Paul. So now I would like to hand over to Stefano and Jean-Luc to present the ICT-24 topic on privacy and trust enhancing technologies. In the meantime, please, in the chat, make yourself known if you want to pitch or if you have any questions that we will address at the end of the call.
Yes, thank you, Mirko. This is Stefano and Jean-Luc from the Commission. Just give us 20 seconds to set up the presentation, and then we start. Okay? Thank you.
So in the meantime, please keep your microphones closed. And use the chat. That is the most efficient way of handling this. So and please notify me if you want to, and I will put you in the list.
Okay, can you all hear us? Okay.
Yes, perfect.
Let's go on. So you also see the presentation, right?
Is correct.
Great. Okay.
Okay. Right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining. I will spend the next 10 to 15 minutes giving some more details about one aspect of the next generation internet calls and opportunities, which is related to privacy and trust. I will just spend few minutes giving some larger background and contextual information, and then deep dive into the short-term opportunity. So I think it's worth going back to some statements made by our policymakers in what we believe next generation internet should be. And for that, we had an interesting speech from Roberto Viola, the Director General of Connect, which extrapolates the vision for the future, in which, in fact, it's the seamless interaction between the real world and the digital world that is important, and it's the interaction between people and artificial intelligent agents that will be important. But he put a clear precondition for that, which is the notion of trust. So all this can happen if people, if users trust the infrastructure, trust the internet. Trust is a relatively complex concept, but it relies on a number of points, a number of important technology elements that will help creating this trust. So universal identity, personal data spaces, security of transactions are expected to be some of the ingredients of this future trust. So in a really nutshell, this is all about making sure internet serves human, but and not the reverse. That is the current situation where our personal data is being used and we are observed by intelligent agents. So it's reversing the logic. So the way we are proposing to handle this is taking a very large taking into account the large technological trends that will impact for the 10 to 15 years, that make sure this evolution is serving humans. So we are going to talk about human-centric internet, an internet for people that contributes to a more sustainable and inclusive society along the line of European values. We strongly support the narrative that this internet should be compatible with what we believe and what is commonly shared by Europeans as values in terms of transparency, inclusiveness, cooperation. And then there is clearly multiple angles to this problem. It's research, it's legislation, it's multiple aspects of the technology. And that's why in the current work program, we already have a number of topics called. Normally, you should have you should see the slide number 5, where you have all these technology that are already. I think there is a problem, so I will stop here and we'll try to fix the problem on the slides. Let's just do a little break and we'll resume in 1 minute. Okay. I don't know if this works now, but let me continue. Actually, the slides are not that important. I think not only these slides are available on the internet, but we have made this presentation a number of times. What is important is and I will come that in a moment, is to focus on the current ICT-24. So I move to the next slide. Yeah. Right. So short-term opportunity is 2018. I mentioned privacy is a very important topic. So it's a topic that is called in 2018. Just to let you know that there will be another call next year in 2019, which will call again for a number of topic and a specific budget on next generation internet. But focusing on the 2018 opportunity, and I believe you all are somehow familiar with the context, so I will be quick on that. 2018, there is 3 topics called for research and innovation action. 3 topics. One is on the privacy and trust. This is the one we are going to talk today. Another one is on decentralized governance, data governance, for which there will be another session. And the last one is on discovery and identification technologies. 3 times 7 million euros. So each of these topics have a budget of 7 million. And now I'm going to explain a little bit the way we are going to spend this money. So it's not so easy to understand. So I will try to be as clear as possible. Unlike many RIAs in the past that some of you may already know, the money will not go mainly to the beneficiaries, but the beneficiary will be a channel to the end beneficiary, if you like, the third parties that will conduct the action. Why we did that? And I think it's very important to step back a little bit to explain the logic of our intervention. The next generation internet topic is explicitly looking for agile projects, for focused projects, is explicitly looking for talents that we are not addressing today with classical research and innovation action in Horizon 2020. It's explicitly looking for a focus team of few people. So this could only be done through a process called cascading. I don't need to get into the detail, but 80% of the 7 million, 7 to 7.5, will be channeled to sub-grantees that will in practice do the work. And the sub-grantees will be precisely, there's young researchers, there's young talents, there's people in high-tech and startups that we don't address today. And why we don't address them today? Because there are a range of reasons. One of the main is that because of the paperwork and administrative burden that is often seized, for the true or not, from these talents towards the framework program. That's the main logic of intervention of this specific part of the Next Generation Internet Initiative. So let's take privacy and trust enhancing technology, which is the topic we are addressing today. The beneficiaries, the selected consortium that will get the 7 million will get a contract, a RIA from the Commission, and in turn will issue calls and will identify very precise technology needs, will identify issues and opportunities that needs to be fixed or answered, potentially bringing business cases and bringing real infrastructure into on the table, and we'll call the world, we'll call the talent that we don't address today through a point and call mechanism. So from that logic, you immediately understand that this first layer of what we call intermediaries will have to have a number of property in administrating the money from commission, in establishing contract with subgrantees, in establishing an intervention logic, in be faithful or in being implementing pan-European dimension, including European vision. So I'm going to now dig into, here are some further details on what it means to manage the RIA action, in what it means to manage the project. So designing the call, selecting the people, monitoring, mentoring, coaching, sharing, communication, building communities. Right, so timeline is over. We will select projects in June timeframe, and from second part of the year until we expect 3 years projects until 2021. We will have the logic of intervention. We will have projects running in parallel, following a number of open calls. That's what this slide says. So what do we expect from the intermediaries? A number of things. I think in a nutshell, it's on one hand, the capacity the outstanding technical competence in the area chosen. We expect intermediaries to be senior in handling those questions. We expect these intermediaries to have the right skills in managing complex projects, because as you can understand, there will be a large number of smaller projects and initiatives. So there must be organizational and managerial competences, including proven capacity to handle large budgets, and probably most importantly, capacity to mobilize networks of stakeholders. So that's precisely the new talents I mentioned. In more details, what it means: the intermediary, the one that will be selected, will have to develop a long-term vision in the area, in the privacy area and trust. A convincing one. It's not just words. They have to be convincing in the way they will develop this vision. It will be very important to already at the proposal stage give insurance to the evaluators that this consortium has the capability to provide and develop a detailed research and engineering work program. So you will have in this stage to demonstrate how you will build this program, what technologies, what source of information you will use to develop this work program. And it will be a detailed work program. It cannot be just like commission. When we do work program, we'll do half a page, because we have to be inclusive. Here, it's really to solve and to answer problems. You have to also already in the proposal stage giving description on how you will implement the evaluation. So and not necessarily in detail, but what sort of process you will implement, because this will consume budget. So it is important to understand how it is implemented. So there are other things that are welcome. For instance, it would be very useful to bring use cases from vertical markets. Europe is very strong in vertical markets, and it's important to rely on these trends and business case from the many sectors of industry. And I won't give examples because all of them are practically useful. Would be very interesting. Making sure that you will have an impact. So there is in the proposal an impact section, so be attentive to that. There is in our program specifically mention of the capacity for mentoring and coaching third parties. So you will be the senior people that will help these researchers to go in a direction that we want all collectively. So this requires mentorship and coaching capacities. We are calling for small and agile partnership by definition. And of course, you are in the proposal stage encouraged to bring additional things on the table. Can be additional financial or in-kind contributions in the form of various instruments. It can be measurement instruments, or it can be or any tools, infrastructures, real infrastructure, virtual machine, networks, a service offered to third parties. Can be also data. Today, data is extremely important. Of course, you have to demonstrate adherence to the work on notion of the Commission, including the values that are explicitly mentioned. So it's a lot of things. So and you understand that for doing all this, you will get 20% of the money maximum. Right. So now the privacy and trust enhancing technology bit. So the rationale or the logic is that it's about trust and how to increase trust and achieve greater control for an internet that is serving us. There is a lot of data out there. How to make sure this is under our control. This is not completely out of control. It's personal data. It's the many attributes and information that are related to each of us. How to increase trust in handling that, which will in turn naturally develop business models, sustainable business models. So all possible combination of technology business models are welcome, including the different sensor objects, devices, AI agents that are today available. I think two important words is robust and easy to use. The internet as one of the critical success factors is precise its robustness and easy to use. Scalability is probably another word. So it will be important that this scenario of trust, privacy and trust enhancing technology is relying on existing internet strengths and expand that into a more trustable environment, but still having some of these properties. So in terms of potential area, and again, it's a suggestion, it's to consider. It's certainly not inclusive of everything, and it's certainly not mandatory. So it's just things that can be considered. So the question of identity management, authentication, authorization mechanism is fundamental in the way we trust the internet. So today it's possible with the internet to mimic the face of a known person, for instance, a parent or a child, mimicking the voice, and in real time, for instance, having on your screen this parent or this person asking you for money, for instance. So this means that today the pixel on the screen cannot be the only source of trust, and there must be authentication, authorization mechanism that will go beyond that. And of course, it has to work in a multi-party environment. So that's why the notion like decentralization or federation are interesting to explore. Reputation is fundamental because with the example I gave, it's very it's linked to reputation. So what sort of mechanisms can be trusted is really linked with reputation. User control of the data, how to release data, how to control this release of data, how we can define rules for that, and it's not easy because it has to be kept simple and it's a complex problem. How to define business model that will check the data. So is it a student? Is it an employee of this company? So this mechanism for checking and proofing are part of the global trust, notably when it comes to making business. And then a number of good things to have. Openness, so open source hardware, software, usability, how to make sure all these mechanisms we are planning are effectively usable, deployable, scalable. So that's the research topic. And for the intermediaries, what it translates is in a number of points that I already mentioned in the previous slide, so I will not go back too much on that, except that there is some explicit values that are mentioned in the work program in terms of what we expect from intermediaries. So they have to commit to this openness, cross-border cooperation, decentralization, inclusiveness, and protection of privacy. Then for the researcher, it's more the previous column, and this is subjects to be solved by the researcher that will be in the second step called. So that's more or less it for my presentation. Just final few points. You are invited to make proposals. As I mentioned, 20% will go for the intermediaries, which has some side effect because 20% of 7 million is 1.4 million. So by definition, we think the consortia will be relatively small because of that. It doesn't mean it has to be 3. Well, it has to be 3. That's for sure. It doesn't mean it's limited to 3. It can be more, but the more you will have, the more dilution you will have. So probably you will have to have parties with less budget in that case, which is perfectly fine. But there will be probably a core team of people and organization handling most of the work. It will be extremely important in this proposal stage that you convince the evaluators that this consortium, the consortium you built, will be able to address the talents that today we don't address. So letter of support, proof that you can reach out people that are hidden somewhere in the darknet. Yes, very good. Yeah, it's at the end, it's probably one of the most important things is demonstrating this. Demonstrating also is that you can build a credible work program to attract these talents is also important because the work program that you are going to publish and you will call will give credibility towards this end researcher to go on this program. And it's an effort, so it has to be credible. Okay, that's my main message for this presentation. I presume you can. There are also important part of the work program which Mirko mentioned and Paul. One of them is that NGI as a trend is a middle term, which is 2019, and for which contributions are extremely useful, and a longer term, which is FP9. So it's an opportunity to express the message that you can now go to the consultation platform and you can express for you what should be the priorities for this. But this was already mentioned, but just a few pointers there. So that's it for my part of the presentation, and I believe I can give you the floor back.
Thank you very much, Jean-Luc and Stefano, for the presentation. So we now have a little less than 20 minutes left over for pitches and questions from the participants to the webinar. I haven't seen a question yet on the chat. Please ask your questions into the chat, and we will follow up at the end of the call. For now, I have two pitches, three actually, but unfortunately one had to leave already. But we have Berit, who would like to pitch my data. And a question is, do we have Nicola on the call, who wrote to me if they could pitch? Please make yourself known in the chat. Then I would like to start with Berit. Berit, can you unmute yourself?
Now I'm unmuted, right?
Wonderful. And we have your video as well.
Yes, you have my video, and I'll try to share my screen.
I think you need to request that.
Yes. Yes, I make her presenter. So.
Perfect.
No, not needed. Okay. Perfect.
Okay, so we have your slides on there. You have let's give you 4 minutes or 5 minutes, let's say, unless somebody is urgently putting up their hand to pitch as well. I think you can get a little bit more time. Is that okay?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay, thank you, Berit.
2 minutes is not too much. So I'll just want to pitch the My Data concept of community. It's getting a community, and of course I don't know how many of you have heard about My Data before, but it's all about human-centric data handling. So to give you a bit of the timeline, and well, I should thank Antti Joki-Poikula, who has given me these slides. He was unable to pitch himself today. So the timeline is that if we go back a few years, it was more individual thinkers who were thinking about how to handle personal data in a privacy-preserving manner. But in 2015, in the end of 2015, the EU Commission had what they called a PIMS roundtable, Personal Identity Management Systems. And out of that came the My Data movement. So there have been My Data conferences in 2016 and 2017 with around 700 people. The principles of My Data is that it's human-centric. We should be able to use data, and it should be easy for business to use these data. So in My Data, we see individuals as empowered actors, not only in the management of their offline lives, but also their online lives, and they should have the rights and the practical means to manage their data and privacy. We work with an operator model where each individual can choose their operator and their data providing services and data using services. And through the operator, the individuals should be able to control that flow. And we also want to not have logins. So also they should be able to change operator and change where they have their data. And these ideas were prior to GDPR, but there are a lot of things that are both in GDPR, but my data goes a bit further than that. So if we just take the vision once more, the core idea is that individuals should be in control of their own data. And it's based on the idea of digital human rights and on creating personal data-based services built on mutual trust. So trust is a very big issue in my data. And the principles, as I mentioned before, each individual has the right to control their data and to define what their thought of privacy is. The data should be usable, so it should be in machine readable and open formats, and we have to create APIs and standards for that. And that will further give interoperability and the possibility to change between services and not be locked in. And my final slide, this should give the individual easiness in coping with their data. It should give the service provider more quality on data, and it should offer customers offer the businesses customers access to all their data at the same time, and which will give other businesses the possibility to create value of that data. So the reason for pitching it here is that I think that that works very well together with the next generation internet thoughts. But this is at least a part of that.
Thank you very much, Berit. Do you have maybe some contact details that the people that are on the webinar can get in touch with you? Maybe
Yes.
post them into the chat, or?
Yes, I could.
Yeah.
I'll just do that. If I can find the chat. Here it is. So I'll stop sharing my screen now.
So in the meantime, is there anybody else who would like to give a very brief pitch, or also a pitch with some slides? There is still time. Then please make yourself known right now. So Berit has also shared her details now in the chat. Also, I can't see any further questions in the chat from anybody online, so I assume that everybody has been absolutely crystal clear. That's fantastic. So maybe we'll just give everybody a few minutes to think about a question. In the meantime, I encourage you to register on the consultation platform. So if you haven't done so already, you can go to the link that I'm pasting into the chat and register to the community. We're using this to also, we're talking about, of course, the 3 topics that are now pertinent for the ICT-24 call, but we'll also be using the consultation platform to discuss the future topics as well as the long-term vision on this. I also encourage you to follow our Twitter account and subscribe to our newsletter. I will post that also into the chat. In a short while. So in the meantime, does anybody have any more questions? So so there's now been a question for the time frame for the calls. So Stefano, correct me if I'm wrong, but
yes, we can answer.
Yeah, so the time frame for the call, assuming we are talking about ICT-24 2018, which is the current open call, it has been open late October 2017. It's open until mid-April this year, 2018. So we are well into the proposal stage. So there is 2 months 3 months left, which is time-wise it's still okay. Then we will do evaluation in June, and we will be able to communicate early results in summer this year. Expectation is that we will have a starting date somewhere early autumn 2018 for the projects, and then in turn we expect that those projects will be able to quickly ramp up the call stage, even up to late this year, hopefully. But potentially up until early next year. So that's the timeline for this call.
Did we answer your question, Lisha? Yes, thanks. Great, thank you. And other questions?
So there have been a few questions coming up now. So
the lines of separations between projects regarding the topics as they overlap.
So let's take the question of Andres. The question is related to the separation.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah. Hello. So Andre. Yeah, please.
Yes. Hi. Hi. Yeah, I sent the thing. I sent the question over chat, and maybe I can ask it directly. Well, my concern was basically because some projects approach the call in a global sense. Even the presentation previously could also touch upon some of the topics that are related to the 2 other calls, I guess. So my question is how to write the project and how to watch the project if it cannot be entirely separated. For example, a lot of things that will deal with trust and privacy will also have the data governance and discovery in it. So it's something which is not clear to me how can the project look if let's say if I write a project ignore aspects of the project that were related to the first or second topic and so on.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Andres, for the question. So the work program has 3 different topics, which has all 3 different centers of gravity. So the first one is about privacy and trust. The second one is about the distribution, the decentralized aspects. And the last one is about discovery. Yes, there are interlinks by definition, because this is all about the internet at the end. So yes, absolutely, you're right. But you have to choose your center of gravity. So if you are developing a distributed technology, even if it's for identity management, maybe you will feel more comfortable in the second call. If you are looking at discovery technologies for devices or objects which contain element of trust and which contain element of security, for sure you will probably go to the number 3, etc. So that's one element. Second element, there will probably be overlap in the future between these. There will be and it makes sense because we are going to tackle things from different angles. One is about the privacy topic. The other one is about potential solutions towards distribution. Another one is more clean slate. It's a bit dangerous word, but it's more new things, really disrupting things, which is topic 3. So and a bit of competition is not harming as long as it's under full control. For that, we'll have additional projects, CSAs more precisely, and notably one that will harvest the results. And it is expected that this work of making sure there are not too much overlapping, or more precisely that the overlapping is under control, will be handled through this mechanism. Of course, even inside the project in, let's say, the topic privacy, there might be multiple solutions for a given problem, which itself will be the object of a call, and maybe one, but maybe 2 or 3 competitive smaller projects will be identified and will be somehow compete. Compete is not exactly the word, but will work toward the same direction. And then it's up to the project to make sure this is understood, this is reported to the Commission, and this is for the good of having the best solution. So short answer is yes, but we expect it will be under control.
Okay, thank you. Fine.
Thank you. Other question. There was a question from Paul. He asked, is there a place where we can discover the cascading call details?
Yes, so the cascading is a mechanism that already exists in the previous call, so it's not new. It's detailed in the general annexes of the work program, and more precisely in an annex called Annex K, which describes what it means. So it describes the eligibility, it describes the conditions for granting money or granting contract to sub-grantees. So it's the answer. The short answer is called Annex K, which is in a general annex of the work program. So if you go to the participant portal, there is the annexes to it. Maybe we can send the link afterwards.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And any other question? Yes. That's no more question. No, sorry if I missed it. It was there a location where we can find the slides from the previous presentation. Yes, we will make it available later, or yes, later today or tomorrow latest on NGI.eu. There is a session called News, and you will find there all the materials. Also a registration of this session, so that if you want to listen it again, you can. Okay, I write it in the common chat. In the meanwhile, if you have other questions, please take your chance.
You can always ask questions to info@ngi.eu as well.
Yes.
we can pass it on to the relevant person at the Commission or amongst the CSAs.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So if there are no more questions, I think we can close this session. You have again contacts to contact us. Please go to the website to be updated and register to the consultation platform and participate to it, and also register your organization into the NGI map that you find on ngi.eu. And nothing. That's all. Thank you very much to all of you, especially to Mirko and Paul and Jean-Luc, of course, for the presentation, and to all of you for the questions and for your kind presence. Thank you, and see you to the next. Bye bye.
I have a meeting, so
yeah, please.
We'll,